We will have statements from our officials and then time for media questions. The floor is given to the Prime Minister. Dear Ursula, dear representatives of the media, I was very happy to welcome you today, host you in Latvia at our House of the Government. We really appreciate very highly representatives of the government and also representatives of our society that you have decided to visit the border frontline states, those countries who are neighboring aggressor state, Russia, are the first countries who face this injustice and cruelty which is taking place in Ukraine. We see it as a sign of solidarity to the entire society of Latvia. We are guarding the border of the EU and values every day in Latvia. We are people of value. We have no illusions about Russia. And again, the most recent attacks by Moscow to civil objects in Ukraine, killing several children, again proves this. We support efforts to reach a fair and stable peace in Ukraine, and I want to thank all our partners, including Ursula, the President of the European Commission, of all the work that you have contributed by participating in numerous discussions in order to promote, facilitate peace in Ukraine. Unfortunately, we do not see any signs currently showing that Russia would be willing to end the war. And we can still say that unfortunately we know from our history that Moscow understands only force. That's why we in Latvia we are strengthening our resilience and our capacity. We want to weaken Russia. We are investing into our defense capabilities. We are reinforcing our external borders. And I would like to highlight once again, this is not only Latvian border, but the border of the EU and NATO. We are developing in Latvia military industry, and definitely in all these processes the European Union plays an important role, and that's why we visited one of the drone producers in Latvia, Origin Robotics, because this company is a very good example showing how by attracting EU funding it's possible to develop new innovative products, also developing Latvia's competitiveness, and also in the area of military production and industry attaining another level. I would like to thank the President of the European Commission, who is for very strong support to Latvia. We together as colleagues are providing support to Ukraine. Ukraine's place is within the EU, and we are supporting strengthening of sanctions and applying import tariffs to Russia and Belarus. Ursula, under your leadership, the European Commission has been a trusted partner for Latvia and for Ukraine, and the war waged by Russia has influenced Latvia's economy, especially in the eastern regions, because investors are slightly taking their time, freezing their assets, waiting for the war to end, when it would be much safer to invest into our eastern region. And I know that you, Ursula, have always supported reinforcing competitiveness of EU, and we support you in this. Stronger Europe means also stronger Latvia. Latvia is already dedicated several hundred millions for reinforcing our eastern border and improving the security situation. We discussed also the plan for economic development of the eastern region in Latvia, also dedicating more than 100 million euros. And these efforts are not only nationals. It's very important to see those efforts appreciated in the EU. And so we discussed all those matters with the President of the European Commission. But in the next multi-year budget of the EU, we will have to speak about this, the external borders of the EU, and Latvian eastern regions need specific support. support. And we are happy that we see understanding shown by our colleagues from the European Commission, and the President is visiting not only Latvia but several frontline countries. By this showing also to our society that on the European Commission level these matters are dealt with. I trust in the understanding and support of the President and the European Commission, and in the context of the multi-year budget, the proposals by the EU and also for safe instruments are very important. This is of critical importance also for Rail Baltic project and for developing of military mobility. Once again, my heartfelt thanks to you, Ursula, for being here today, for your understanding of this region, for supporting EU eastern border, and in general that you care for the stolen Ukrainian children and that you want to see Europe becoming stronger. And now I give the floor to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
It's very good to be here with you today, and thank you very much for the visit of Origin Robotics. It was visible that, if you may call it, the future of collective capacity to deter and to defend is being designed right here, and I was very happy to hear with European funds. It was impressive to see how innovative this company is and how fast this company is growing. So I really want to congratulate Latvia. You are on your way to become a true drone and anti-drone powerhouse, and this is impressive to see. Your expertise will certainly help shape Europe's security, but also NATO's defense strategies for the years to come. And that's why I am proud to start my eastern border travel right here in Latvia. And I want to be very clear. We know that Europe is only safe if the eastern border is safe. And therefore, the eastern border defense line is one of the most important flagships that has my full support. It's impressive the work that you are doing there, and count on me to be by your side. Dear Evika, the risks your country and the other Baltic states warned us about, unfortunately, have materialized. Russia's brutal war against Ukraine is now in its 4th year. Putin is a predator. Putin's proxies have been targeting our societies for years with hybrid attacks, with cyber attacks. The weaponizing of migrants is another example. And this is something, unfortunately, that Latvia knows only too well. You have a bitter experience in all these fields. So as we strengthen Ukraine's defense, we must also take greater responsibility for our own defense. And this is the logic of the 800 billion euro defense industrial plan that we have launched together. And part of this plan is the joint procurement instrument that we call SAFE. SAFE is a joint procurement instrument of 150 billion euros. And with SAFE, we are delivering the capabilities Europe needs most. So, as I said, it's a joint procurement. It means air and missile defense. It means, for example, looking into cyber defense and, of course, drones. I'm very glad that 19 member states, including Latvia, of course, have now requested support through SAFE. And I'm pleased to announce that we have reached full subscription of the whole 150 billion euros. Many member states have indicated that they will also use it to support the Ukrainian defense industry. So that is a true European success. Dear Evika, Latvia is already among NATO's top defense spenders relative to GDP. Congratulations to that. In addition, you have asked for budget flexibility to boost the defense spending under the so-called national escape clause. 15 member states have done the same. So together we are investing more, we are investing together, and we are investing European. So Europe is on the right track. There's a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are on the right track. Now we have 3 tasks to work on. First, in October, we will take stock at the European Council together with our so-called roadmap for readiness 2030. So we're going to look into the capability gaps and how to close them. The second aim is by 2030 to have significantly strengthened our defense capabilities and to have closed the defense gaps that we have. And the third, in parallel task, is we will contribute to make sure that Ukraine has ironclad security guarantees. This is also the reason why in the new European budget that we just have proposed, we have a 5-fold increase in defense spending as a proposal. We have a 10-fold increase in military mobility because we think it's high time for readiness, and we have tripled the proposal for migration and border strengthening. So thank you very much for inviting me here today, and thank you for the excellent cooperation.
Paldies, ir pienācis laiks mediju jautājumiem.
Now the time has come for the questions. Each of our officials will take only one question. Before you ask the question, please introduce yourself and also indicate the media outlet that you are representing.
I'll ask in English. Good afternoon, President, Prime Minister. Ginta Moliņš of Latvian Public Television, LTV. You mentioned that Latvia is on the way to become a drone powerhouse, and you posted in Twitter on X that visiting the EU frontline states. Now, how ready do you think are we as European countries to deter military aggression right now, and while we are still very much reliant on the United States security umbrella? What would be the most serious capacities shortages you think that need to be addressed quickly?
Yeah. So, first of all, it is very important to have the right sense of urgency. Latvia has the right sense of urgency, but the whole of the European Union needs to understand that it is important to work on readiness, immediate readiness, and for that you need different elements. One element is financial flexibility, financial leeway. And this is something the Commission has enabled the Member States through 2 elements. The one is the national escape clause, so that nationally there's more flexibility for the Member States to invest in defense, in their own defense. But also important is the second leg, which is SAFE, the joint procurement, because we have European common defense necessities, for example, a common European air shield, or if you look at cyber defense, or if you look at the whole space topics. These are common European projects that we have to develop together. The second element is we have to be very clear on what are the gaps, but also what are the timelines and the milestones that we have to meet. So we have to be only what you can measure, you can deliver. So it's not only that we need a plan, but we need also really to measure the timelines and the targets. For that, we will deliver the Readiness 2030 plan to the European Council in October, so that we have a common plan what the needs in the different member states are and how we get there. Then, and this goes in parallel, we have to strengthen the Ukrainian armed forces. I've said that Ukraine has to be like a steel porcupine, undigestible for potential invaders. And Ukraine has a highly trained and battlefield experienced armed forces. For security guarantees, this would be the first line of defense. But this needs substantial and sustainable financing. So also a task where we have to look into how can we make sure that Ukraine has a well-equipped, well-trained, well-paid armed forces over time. And then the fourth and last element I want to mention is the mid- and long-term planning. That is the new budget that we have proposed, where I said that the amounts to be invested, the proposal to invest them in defense, in military mobility, but also in strengthening the borders, have been extremely increased 5 times, 10 times partially from what we had.
Paldies. Un pēdējais jautājums.
And the last question.
Labdien, Gatis Suhaveckis,
TV3, the question to the Prime Minister. You mentioned, you said that Moscow understands only force. We see the efforts to stop the war in Ukraine. Do you think that the principle is through force is used to force Russia to stop murdering Ukrainians and destroying Ukraine? Thank you for your question. Also referring to what the President of the Commission just said regarding the means, Latvia has invested in all these areas. We have used both this escape clause, helping ourselves and helping Ukraine. We have applied for safe instrument. We still are waiting for approval. There are things that Latvia needs nationally, but also cooperating in other countries and also to help Ukraine. We understand that we are going to have initiatives which we cannot implement on our own to help Europe and to help Ukraine. Well, here we need involvement of several countries. That's why we are in this poor initiative where the United States are ready to supply military technologies, techniques that Ukraine needs. We are ready to participate. And our agreement is, before we see peace of Ukraine, we are going to supply to Ukraine military technique. We have provided Patriots and of course we need financial support to Ukraine in order for it to exist socially, because they are investing their budget for military needs. But they need even more support. And of course, greater financing. These are the challenges that EU member states have and NATO countries have, and also the coalition of the willing. We are thinking about the next packages of sanctions. These are on their way. Unless we restrict Russia and if we allow Russia to earn, and we have to thank also United States, who have now targeting countries who have been very favorable towards Russia, for example, India. This will perhaps force Russia to come back to negotiations. It was easy for them to evade sanctions because of the actions taken by India and North Korea and other countries. And we saw no openness towards negotiations, but now as the EU and the coalition of the willing, we have supported Ukraine, we have restricted Russia, we have forced Moscow to sit down at the table of negotiations. And we have also established joint format of negotiations with our transatlantic partners, coalitions of the willing, and I believe that we see very good coordination and we are showing force. Thank you. And with this we conclude our press conference.
Thank you for that.